Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we are chatting with Jake and Cierra, a couple who share their passion for board games on their popular YouTube and Instagram channels, Gaming with the Powers. Jake, Cierra, welcome to the binge. How you doing?
We are doing great. Thank you so much for having us on.
Oh, it is awesome having you on. We've been talking for a few months now. We're going to talk about how I found you guys, which is kind of a cool story. But you're content creators, right? So you create content on both Instagram, YouTube. Are you on TikTok as well? I know there's the two channels.
No,
Not yet.
not yet.
I'm
She
sure
wants to get on TikTok.
I do.
Oh, you got to get on TikTok. It's coming, I'm sure. But before we kind of jump into this, I always love to get into people's kind of history. So to start off with, kind of what do you guys do for a living? Like, what's your day jobs?
Well, we actually work at the same private school in Argyle, Texas. And I work for the high school primarily in sports. I'm an athletic trainer.
Oh, wow.
And I work in the middle school, so I'm a teacher there, working with kids with ADHD and dyslexia, dysgraphia, like that. And then I also coach cross country and track.
Oh my gosh. Now, I always wondered, like, when you have people that work together, like you're in the same school then, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And what's that like? Because you're at home together, you're in the
Yeah.
car on the way to work together, you're at work together,
Well,
same thing coming
So
back.
our schedule's so different. We don't drive together. We
Okay.
drive separately, and then we don't see each other as often as you would think. Because I'm only in the athletics and the sports realm.
Okay.
I'll see him when he's coaching, but besides that, yeah, we don't see each other as much. Sometimes we'll get lunch together.
She never wants to
Sometimes.
do a lunch date with me. I always like, hey, let's grab lunch today. And she's like,
The girls.
no, it's her time with the girls.
I see you enough. I'm
okay.
good. I'm good.
Yeah.
So, like, and do you involve board games at all, like at the school? Like, is there any way that ties into the curriculum at all, or is it completely separate from kind of your work life?
I try and involve it. So funny enough, some of the games that we don't play anymore, I've donated to the school. And so in the mornings there, so our school starts at about 8:45, but they have this 30 to 40 minute period where like when the kids arrive, they can go see teachers, or if not, they can go to this kind of hangout spot. And so the admin was asking if, hey, does anybody have any games or anything like that we can get these kids to play? And I'm like, I have a lot of games I can donate to y'all. And so a lot of games the kids play there. And then every once in a while on Fridays, I like to have in my class Free Time Friday. And so I'll bring a couple board games in there for the kids. I brought like Ticket to Ride, Tic-Tac-Toe, KO, Unstable Unicorns, some of those, got take that style games. And they enjoy that a
Kids
lot.
love that.
Yeah, they're always like, Coach Powers, when is Free Time Friday? Is that today? Is that today?
Now, do
So
you
it's fun.
find you're having to like teach a lot of these games? Like, are you using your experience in the industry to kind of shorthand it and get them quickly to the table, or do you leave it to them to kind of read the rules and kind of figure it out themselves?
Yes, yeah. So for the more challenging games, I would say, like your Ticket to Ride style, I'll actually give them, hey, so let's sit down. This is what this does. And then I kind of let them just take it. And then sometimes the chaotic side of me is just like, hey, here's Unstable Unicorns, figure out how to play. And like, I just watch kind of the chaos ensue. Because I find sometimes I'm teaching middle schoolers, right? So primarily seventh and eighth graders. It's very hard to sit them down and go through a 5 to 10 page rule book. They just
Yeah.
want to dive right in and they just want to start playing. So sometimes it's just, hey guys, look, here's a game. If y'all want to look through the rule book or y'all just want to make up your own rules, go ahead. And they usually have fun no matter what they do.
So have you found, like, with the kids, like in their interaction with these games, I mean, because we're in a digital world right now, right? And I think of
Yes.
my own kids and how much they're attached to their phones and Snapchats and things like this, and especially the challenge we've had here in Canada and some of the school systems is getting kids to put the phones down, right? And
Yeah.
to kind of separate that from school. Might be easier in a private school setting, I don't know. But like, do you find the acceptance of the kids? Is it easy to get them to engage with board games? Like, was it natural for them, or is it more of a still kind of a fight to get them to kind of put the electronics to the side?
So thankfully for us at the middle school level, the kids are not allowed to have their phones at all.
Amazing.
So when they come to school, they got to put their phone up in their locker. They're not allowed to have it in the classroom. So that made it a lot easier to introduce board games to them. Now, sometimes it's still a little bit of a fight because they do have iPads, and
Uh,
so there are times where these kids are very creative. They'll find websites to play games, and like
yeah.
our IT department will have to block them. But I think they're so used to playing only one or two games because it's the only unblocked site that sometimes when I introduce these board games, just because it's new and it's fresh and
Mm.
it looks like something that it's exciting to them, they'll usually just dive right in and not give me any issues whatsoever.
And how do you find, like, when you look, because I think back to when I was a kid, there was only board games. We didn't really
Yeah.
have video games to play, right? Um, do you find that does it kind of take you back to that more tactile feel when you observe the kids playing the games at all, or like is it almost refreshing to kind of see kids actually doing tactile things now, or?
Yeah, yeah. And I think it helps so much more for a lot of our kids
Mm,
because they need that. Some of them are very touchy, feely. They need to
yeah.
see things visually. And so, funny enough, like I'll keep about one or two board games in my classroom. And actually, today it happened. There's a kid who was struggling with a math problem, and they were talking about prisms. And so, I literally got out the board game and took some of the different objects, and I'm like, okay, like you have a triangle prism, so let me show you exactly what it looks like and just visually so they can visually see it. And so I
Oh, that's
think
cool.
they've actually responded really well to that because again, it's that tactile feel. They're able to manipulate different objects and see different objects rather than just staring at a game and just clicking buttons and hitting that the whole time.
Oh, amazing. And then Sierra, with you, do you have any kind of, can you pull in anything from board
It's
games into your day-to-day work as well, or?
kind of, it's different because so I work with injured athletes for the most part.
Okay.
And so if they're not at practices or games and they're with us, then it's a good time. I've brought out like Taco Cat, Goat Cheese Pizza, like little quick
Sure.
card games. I feel like they pick up well for us. And I'm at the high school level too, and they can have their phones.
Mm.
So you definitely see that issue pop up every so often. But I've gotten them get into like those kind of competitive games. I feel like just that resonates with athletes well if they want to win and beat each other. So something like that, I've been able to pull them in a little bit, but
There
Now
was a
does
winter one. The what's the winter?
Christmas
The
version.
Christmas version of taco goat cheese, whatever it's called.
It's like Santa, reindeer,
That
elf. I don't
that
know.
was a big hit. That was a big hit in the training room. Every time I'd go in there to visit her, they're just like cookies, reindeer, ah! Like just slamming it down.
Yeah.
Now, do your kids at all know that you guys have these channels, this gaming channel, kind of outside of school? Like, has anybody kind of found it or realized it,
Some
or?
of mine do.
None of my middle schoolers know. I
Okay.
have kept this completely under wraps because if I did, they'd be trying to search me up
Yeah.
and they want to know, like, oh, let me see Coach Powers. But yeah, I haven't told any of my middle school kids. Some of the high school kids I coach know, but I've briefly mentioned it to them. But they're like, oh, we'll go check it out. But I don't think they ever do.
Yeah.
And Sierra did, and you said some of the kids have do you
They've
know?
asked me or they've said something to me like, because he coaches some of my athletes, so
Yeah.
they'll be like, "Oh, your husband said y'all have this," and I'm like, "Yeah, we do," but nothing. Yeah, they don't really ask or say much more about it. They're just like, "Oh, cool," and that's it.
So when did you guys start this channel? Like, how did this come about? Like, when did you guys first say, you know what, we're gonna start putting ourselves on camera and just talking about our passion?
Definitely, probably him.
Yeah. So it's kind of my brainchild.
We kept talking about it for a long time.
Yeah, I think so. Let me do some math here. I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago is when we actually started the channel. I think more so 2 years. And really, it was just we got into board gaming a little bit. I'm sure we'll segue into this at some point. Like right after COVID a little bit.
Mm,
And we just,
Yeah.
like you said, I think a lot of people, when they hear board games, they hear Monopoly or
yeah.
checkers or things like that. There's such a wide depth and amount and different board games in different styles. And so, you know, I'm just super passionate about board games, and we both are, and we just kind of want to share our passion with everybody else and show off types of new board games that people might like. I kind of segued off track
Yeah.
there,
No, that's all right.
but
What I was going to say is it definitely helped build our relationship together. Like that was one of the things that got us like connected, I guess, or I don't.
yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
actually a good point. Like she said, our schedules are really, really so opposite of each other.
Mm,
Like she mostly has to go in the afternoons. I have to go in the morning and stay all the way through the afternoons. And then sometimes because of like baseball and stuff like that, that goes after school, she
Mm,
has to work to about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. So there will be days where we might only see each other for 2 to 3 hours.
okay.
So board gaming gave us a opportunity to say, hey, like, do you want to sit down and just do something together for, 2 or 3 hours while
Rather
we
than
see
just
each other?
binging Netflix or
Rather than just
something.
binging Netflix or just kind of going through the motions of our daily life.
And then so it sounds like you this is kind of more of a recent endeavor getting into the industry.
Yeah.
What was the first kind of hook that got you into like into the hobby side, right? Because unless someone somehow exposes you to kind of the hobby, most people just think of it as
Yeah.
Monopoly, Risk, checkers, chess, that kind of stuff. So what was kind of the gateway that got you in?
I've been into board games for a long time through like my sister and her friends.
Okay.
They'd all play and they're big board gamers. They're probably some of our biggest like
Yeah.
fans on our channel. And so then when we started dating, we were living about 4 hours apart. So I'd drive down or he'd drive down and spend the weekend together and we needed something to do. And so then I introduced him to what, Dice Throne?
Dice Throne. Yeah.
Oh
We
Dice
went
wow.
we
Throne.
went to Barnes and Nobles. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
It's always it was like we had a couple days off from school, so I think we had a 4 day weekend and we were just looking for something to do. And she actually enjoys reading a lot of books and audiobooks. And so we went to Barnes and Nobles and we were looking through and she was like, hey, here's board games. Come check these out. Like you want to get one of these? And we got Dice Throne. And that's what kind of took it off.
We got
Really,
we got one or
yeah.
two, and then we went back and
That,
bought all four of them
yeah.
Oh
like the
wow.
same day.
Yeah.
We're like,
So
oh, we need this.
would you say then you kind of got like the bug, I guess, at that point
Yeah.
Yeah.
where it
Oh
pulls
yeah.
you in, and then like most of us, I think you start any game you play and you enjoy, you just go and buy a copy of it and add to your shelf,
Yeah.
right? So I
Yeah.
can see the nice calyx there behind you.
Yeah.
Um, like how fast did your collection start to grow?
Very, very
Years and a
quickly.
half.
She looked at me very
It's-
quickly.
You see like one behind us. There's like six of them
Oh wow.
Yeah,
spread out.
it grew very quickly. I think it was just for me. So this is kind of on the depressing side, I guess, of
Never.
me really growing into the hobby was I've been involved in sports my entire life. I've been an athlete. I've been very fortunate to do it at the collegiate level. I've been very fortunate to do it at the professional level. And so after that, I got into coaching and I basically put everything, every part of my identity into coaching. And so when we were dating, like she said, we were 4 hours apart at the school I was at. I was there about 5 years. I managed to build a team that was kind of from the ground up. We ended up finishing third place at our state championship,
Oh wow.
kind of my last year. And then when I moved up here, the very first job I took, their program, their cross country and track, but they didn't have a cross country program actually. So I was starting from the ground up, and then the track program was nowhere where I just came from. And so it was kind of almost like a reality check for me of I've put my identity into this, and then now I'm at a new place where my athletes are not as, I coached a sophomore that was #1 in the nation
Mm,
my last year at my previous school, and then come to where I have a sophomore that can barely even run a mile, right?
yeah.
And so I kind of got into a depression a little bit. And so was just trying to figure out another avenue for my passion. And so when we got introduced to Dice Throne and we started buying a little bit more games, like that's when I was like, you know what? I'm just going to dive fully into this and immerse myself into board gaming and just kind of it be an escape, right? I
Yeah.
was a heavy video gamer when I
Mm,
was young, and I mean, the amount of video games I've spent hours and hours and hours on. I mean, there'd be days where I'd spend, 10 to 12 hours on video games. And so I was just trying to find something to put really my identity in a passion. And so board gaming was that for me for about, it is still now
Still.
that for me, but it was really a heavy influence on me for about a 4 to 6 month period. And so it was just about like, okay, let me try a new game and let me try this one and try this one and try this one and try this one. And that's kind of how the collection just started growing. The first game I ever backed on, I had knew nothing about Kickstarter,
mm.
GameFound. So I can't quite remember how I came upon that, but the very first game I backed on Kickstarter was Sky Tier Horde, actually. And then that was kind of the downward spiral, we could say, from then on was just like, hey, this game looks interesting, let me try it. This game looks interesting, let me try it. And so collection grew. I think my first year I backed about 20 to 30 games on
Oh wow.
Kickstarter or GameFound, and then started getting all these in. And then, Miniature Market always has really good sales. So I would always pick up those games on sales. And then year number two, I was up to like 50 to 60 games backed on Kickstarter or GameFound. And then we've got quite a lot of projects right now that we have.
Yeah, and then you're now watching. Okay, when's the next one coming? And it gets, you're pretty far in when you get to the point where something shows up at your door and you don't know what it is.
Correct.
It's just a box. It's like, oh, which game is this? I'm not really sure, right?
Yeah.
It just shows
Yeah.
up. At that point, you must know you have a problem. Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's step one of going to rehab, board game rehab, I guess, right? So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so then
It's a good problem to have.
how did that transition then? So you're passionate about it, like, and a lot of us, that's what you do. You start diving in deep. But then taking that step of saying, okay, now I'm going to put myself on camera.
Mhm.
Walk me through how that transition happened. So at what point did you turn to Cierra and say, hey, or Cierra, you turned to Jake and said, you know what, I think we need to talk about a game and let's do it on a camera and create a channel. Like, what did that conversation look like?
Yeah. That was more so me than her.
Well, I was going to say, I told him he needed to do it because he's really good at talking, as you can tell. The way he can present himself and go on and explain games was just, I told him was awesome. I have a little to say, but he has a lot and he's good at it and good at what he does, I think. So it's
Yeah.
kind of where it started.
For me, like it was just, when she introduced me to a lot of her friends that were gamers, sitting down and talking with them and me telling them about all these different games and me just talking. We've been to about two conventions and just talking to all these people at conventions. It's funny sometimes that even people who are in this hobby and industry don't really even know the breadth of all the games, even some of maybe the big games on BGG, like that are in like the 50s or the 60s. They still don't know about any of those games. And
Yeah.
so it was through talking through all of them, they were just like, I could see how excited they were of me explaining this game to them and like, guys, let's check this game out. Hey, you want to come over and play this game? And I just kind of sat back and with her, giving me the suggestions, it's like, what this would be a great opportunity for me to just showcase all of these different games and talk about like all the games and what I like about them and what I don't like and what I'm really passionate about that maybe for somebody else who's going through something or struggling that one of these particular games I'm talking about, maybe that might be able to help them and
Mm.
just be an escape for them in their daily life and kind of what they're going through. And that's kind of how everything started. And it was almost like, hey, we play these games almost every day. Like, why don't we just do it on camera and put it out there for everybody to see?
Yeah, I will say that in terms of describing, you're very good at describing games,
Thank
in a
you.
very concise way. No, like it is a skill, right? To be able to take a game, explain like the essence of how to play a game, and even when you'll do like kind of like a quick, okay, now here's a quick playthrough. I'll do a couple rounds. Doing it in a concise way that someone can watch that and say, okay, now I know I can go away and I can play that game now. I have an understanding. Because there's a lot of content creators out there that do that. Some don't do it as well, right? So it's getting to the guts and kind of the key elements of the game for me, I think is something that is a skill that I don't want to say it's a learned skill or either
Yeah.
have it or you don't, but certainly you've got there. You've got there very quick with this channel. So that's what definitely something I really appreciate about your channel. In
Thank
terms
you.
of coming up with like the setup and so forth, so the background and deciding to do it
Yeah.
together and then coming up with the logo, how long did that process come together? And was that kind of all mapped out first before you first went on camera, or was that did that evolve along the way?
You want to take it or you want me to take it? I'll take it.
You probably have more.
Yeah. Yeah, so a little bit was mapped out. I think with the background, I think I just looked. So I did a lot of research before,
Mm.
starting the channel and looked at a whole bunch of other content creators. And I think just the easiest background was just having a display of all of your games
Yeah.
in the back and seeing, because there was some content creators where I'd be watching a video and they'd be talking about a specific game, but then a game in the background would catch my eye. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh, what is this? And let me see if they have content on that. So that's kind of the first part, just giving you an opportunity to showcase some of the games in your collection or maybe games that you've previewed or upcoming. In terms of the logo, That was definitely a me thing. I was just trying to think of something like, hey, what's a funny, cute little logo, like a chibi style logo of, I'm usually the one that gets frustrated when we play board games because she beats me in almost every single board game we play. So I was like, let's just do something funny and cute where like she's sitting there and we've got the board set up and I'm just like, like just mad because she beat me again. So I reached out to somebody, I think on Fiverr to just generate a logo for us. But yeah, there's quite a little bit of planning before we kind of got everything kicked off. I actually created the channel, and then I think like 2 months later is when we actually started diving into it.
That's amazing. And have you started taking now this to like conventions? So like wearing the logoed wear to conventions and do you start seeing some recognition now when you're at some of the conventions? People saying, "Wait a second, I think I've seen you on the internet."
We need to do that.
We need to do that.
We need
Yeah.
that.
The hard part for us, unfortunately, is like we want to get out to more conventions,
Yeah.
but just with our schedule being teachers, pretty much every good convention is always during the school year. And so it's very hard for us to just take off, 3 or 4 days, especially. So she primarily works with football. So
Mm.
football for us is basically from June all the way until December.
Oh
So
wow.
it's very hard, and she's the primary person for that. So it's very hard for her to take off any time during that. And I'm in cross country during that season as well.
Oh boy.
And then in the spring, I'm on the track side of things. So right now I'm going from January all the way until May. And she just kind of floats between different sports. So it's like it's very hard to justify to a lot of my kids that I'm out there every day yelling at them basically, kind of run faster. Like, hey guys, I'm gonna take this weekend off, even though you're racing, because I'm gonna go do this other thing over here that I
Yeah.
do on the side. But I think that's eventually where we'd like to be.
Yeah, like do you have like in Can where we are in Canada, it's usually the summers are kind of when people are
Yeah.
not working. Obviously different where you're at. Do you have any time off during the year? Like, is there any band of time in there at all that you guys get off?
We, Hi, summers we have off. We just have practices still. So it's
You're just
like we
doing
don't
stuff,
get,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's like limited time off. And then we
Mm.
get the breaks. It just depends on the coaches and whoever we're working with if we actually get the breaks.
Yeah.
The good thing is we both love what we do.
Yeah.
So we don't mind it, but it does cut into board games, which is like our other love. It's finding that balance,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
We're still
absolutely.
figuring that out.
Well, life is a balance, I think, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And in terms of finding like publishers, are you finding now there's publishers reaching out to you more frequently and things like this, or?
Yeah, yeah, actually, a lot more as we're gaining a little bit more notoriety and we're just producing more content. Yeah, where a while ago it was just me reaching out to publishers themselves, like, hey, I saw your game. We saw your game. It looks great. We'd
Yeah.
love to be able to feature content on it. Like, do you have anything for us? Like, now we've had a bunch of people reach out this past in January, actually, we had 5 projects,
Wow.
people reaching out that they sent us. So we're steadily growing.
It's interesting. We had I can't remember who the guest was. We're talking about this at least in the past month with one of our prior guests. And the topic came up for, if someone is looking to get into content creation and getting into the industry, how to create that network, right? And how do you
Yeah.
reach out to publishers? And my comment at the time was, and I actually used you guys as an example. I
Yeah.
said, one way to do it is just start creating content. You don't have to necessarily have that connection with publishers to start. You can literally grab a game off your shelf and say, today we're doing a video on one of my favorite games and talk about one of your favorite games and why it's your favorite game. Or,
Yeah.
today I'm talking about XYZ game. Man, this is a pain in the butt to try to pack back up. The number of times I see people pulling their hair out trying to get this game back inside the box. Today, I'm going to show you how to get this game back inside the box.
Yeah.
Whatever the content is, tag the publisher,
Yep.
right? In your content on BGG, tag them on Instagram, tag them on YouTube. If you tag them on BGG, for sure they're going to see it.
Yeah.
And so they'll be notified. That's the way BGG works. A little notification pops up saying, oh, such and such tagged you in the following content. They're going to look at it, right? Because they want to see
Yeah.
what people are saying about their games. This is how I found you guys, right?
Yeah.
You guys backed Guarding Geckos, right? I had no knowledge of you, like we hadn't met, and I saw a video, right? Because I'm constantly searching for content on Guarding Geckos, trying to get a pulse on, what are people's feelings towards the game? Are they like it, dislike it? Or is there questions? What's coming up? What are people's impressions of the box? So I'm always scraping for content on the internet, anything to do with my games. I came across your video. Of course, I watched the video, right? And as I'm
Yeah.
watching the video, I'm like, damn, these guys have good content. This is high quality. And it was from there that I reached out to you guys and said, hey, I don't know if you're taking, direct connections from publishers, but I got another game coming up. I love your content. I'd love to send you to take a look at. And that's how we started the communication channel, right? And so the lesson there is to anybody looking at getting into the board game industry in terms, especially on the content creation side. A, is never too late to jump in if you got an idea. B, watch what everyone else is doing, like the Powers just did, and so okay, this is how I do my background. I want to make sure I have some lighting. I want to make sure I have a decent mic. Let me map out what kind of content I want to create, and just start throwing it out. And the first 20 to 50 videos are probably gonna be seen by nobody, right? So look at those first videos as training until you start building the following. But the following will come, and that comes through repetition. And then if there's a story to tell, or if there's a hook there, and especially if there's quality there, like you guys have, you're going to see more and more publishers starting to reach out to you saying, hey, we have something we'd love you to take a look at as well. And that will naturally form. Is that fair kind of way to describe it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would even add to say, like, just be genuine. Just be genuine and honest, right? And I think, like, especially in our industry, there's so many sticklers, I guess is the wrong word, but there's so many content creators that I think a big issue is like reviews. How many times should you play a game before you review it, right? And I would say just be honest, guys, and give your 100% honest opinion, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And I think a lot of people will be very appreciative of you for that. And that's kind of like what I want to pride our channel on is like, hey, we're going to provide you guys with a 100% genuine, honest review. Like, we don't take any money for any of our requests. And that's one of our main sticking points that I want to hone on is like, we're not doing this to make money. We are doing this because we genuinely are passionate about board games. And like every video that I make is like, I want to try and share my passion and showcase this game with you guys and exactly how I think and feel about it. And I think, like you said, just start putting out content and tag content creators, and after a while they'll reach out to you and just be passionate. Be passionate about what you do. If you're passionate about what you do and you're honest, then everything's going to work out.
Yeah, I love the passion. I think is the key word. And as a publisher, as I'm constantly looking for new content creator, and I'm always looking for. If anybody's listening and you're a content creator, reach out to me. I want to connect. I'm constantly looking for content creators, and the one thing that rises to the top of the pile of who do I want to work with are people that show passion. And you can tell, like, it's not forced. It's something that comes through naturally when you're watching them, and you believe what that person's genuinely excited about what they're doing. And is that maybe because you're a newer channel and you haven't been doing this for 15 years? I don't know. But, when someone's like, when the energy is coming off them when they're talking about it, that is infectious, right?
Yeah,
it pulls people in. And I think that's what I know I look for. And I think probably why you guys are seeing the quick success that you're seeing now, right? Is that people are attracted to that energy, right? Into that passion.
Absolutely.
Like, I want a piece of that, right? Everyone wants joy in their life. And if you can share joy to your subscribers and they can get a little nibble of that, you're going to lift them up as well, right? So I think that's kind of the piece. God, where are you guys going from here? Like, I know you've got the Instagram channel, you've got the YouTube channel. Have you mapped out kind of where you want to, like, how this is going to look maybe even like 2 years from now? Or
honestly, not a whole lot. I think, you said today we might look at exploring into TikTok a little bit, but I think us being a two-man rotation right now, it's very, editing videos by itself takes a while. Posting on Instagram kind of takes a while. I think we are growing a little quickly right now. You can ask her. I was a little stressed out the month of January with all these different projects. Like, hey, babe, I got to come home. Don't talk to me. I got to get some filming. I got to get some editing done. I got to, play the game actually, and things like that. But I think for right now, I think I'm content with where we're at and where we're growing, and we're still just going to keep producing unboxings and playthroughs and reviews for a bunch of games that we get in. And unless we see a major need to continue to grow, then we're just going to kind of stick with where we're at.
That's great. I mean, I think managed growth is kind of the key element there, right? Because
Yeah.
you're doing it because it's a passion.
Yeah.
And you have day jobs, right?
Yeah.
So this is something you're doing as a hobby because you enjoy it and it's fun. And I think it was Chandler Copenhagen. Somebody coined the term. I think it was Chandler, what he calls a jobby, right?
Yeah.
When your passion, your hobby starts becoming work,
Yeah.
and it becomes a jobby, then you start sucking the fun out of it, right? And that's not a great place to be in either. So you constantly want to make sure you're managing the growth in a way that you're enjoying yourself, right? And you're still having fun with it. And it's something that you guys look forward to. It's your escape right now. And you want to keep it that way, right? You don't want to have to come up with an escape from your escape, right?
Correct.
Well, for those who want to follow you, I'm going to put a link in the show notes as Gaming with the Powers. I'm a huge fan of yours now. I'm glad that we got a chance to connect. Thank you for backing Garden Geckos.
Of course.
I really appreciate that. That was a dynamite review. And also recently, anybody hasn't checked out the video that you guys did on Cities of Venus Survivors. It's on Kickstarter right now. Again, one of my favorite videos that was done on that game was done by the Powers because, gosh, you guys are so concise on explaining things. And that game has got a lot kind of going in terms of polyominoes and dice manipulation and all this kind of stuff, which I find is always good to go to content creators because they can usually explain your game better than you can. So thank you for that.
Of course. Thank you for having us again. This is just so awesome to just sit here and talk with you and just chop it up.
All right. All the best is coming here, guys. You take care. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply subscribe to our YouTube channel, Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.